You're running a live sports production, a live stream for football, ultimate, soccer, what have you. You've got your production booth up here. Getting a camera angle from on top of the booth is not a problem. It's a very short distance, but your other cameras are going to be all the way on the field. It's going to be several hundred feet away, if not a couple hundred yards. How would you get your video feed from the cameras on the field up to your production booth? You have a few options. First option is use fiber optics. This is the most expensive, but it's the most stable with the lowest latency. Your next option is going wireless, but wireless could get really expensive, especially if you're going to get transmitters with really low latency. That has the reach for a stable signal from down here all the way up there. You're looking at $500, $600, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 plus for a really good quality signal. So you go with your budget conscious option. Production that you're doing, they only gave you HDMI based cameras. That's all you can use. How far can you actually run HDMI? Can you get from the booth down to the field? And it's not just can you get from the field onto the booth, but how far can you actually realistically go with HDMI? I know because I've done this before, and I have a small stack of HDMI cables and Ethernet cables to show you. My name is Lance, you can call me Postman, and I produce professional ultimate frisbee videos, specifically live streams. I have my system here at my office so I can make sure everything works between games. Using vMix, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 inputs. HDMI capture card with input 1 through input 4. This is the monitor that I give the commentators so they can see what's going on. And this is the monitor I use for instant replay stuff. Who needs an X keys when you have a keyboard that you can just stick on all your shortcuts? I have to constantly get video feed from multiple cameras on the field onto this computer, and it has to be a stable connection. This is Championship Stadium in Irvine, California. It's the current home of the Los Angeles Aviators. We put our production booth right up here on the away stands, and we're having to run cables all the way over here and all the way over here, along with having the primary camera up here in the stands and then having a gimbal op that'll roam the sidelines on both sides of the stadium. So I have to get my cables from here all the way over here and all the way over here. Ideally, I'd love to produce on this side of the stadium, but it's hard to do when the stadium production be here and you have fans all over the place. So we'd have to be very careful with getting the cables all the way around the side here and all the way around the side here. So I constantly need at least 300 feet going from the production booth either way. 200 feet is too short, it doesn't provide enough slack, and if the sideline is actually right here and I have my camera op right here, I don't want to have the cables going straight down here, because if a player runs on the side, they might trip over the cable. Cables have to come as much around the stadium as possible. So I need at least 250 feet or more worth of cable between the production booth and the camera. Now most people have an HDMI cable somewhere around this long. It's about 4 feet, you might have one 6 feet. Other people, you've got a little bit longer of a cable. This one is about 12 feet, and you'll use it to get from your device, like your camera or your game console or your computer, to your monitor, like this field monitor, or to a actual computer monitor or a TV. And when I talk about latency, it's the time it takes for the data to go from one point to the other point. Extremely low latency would be going from the camera directly onto the monitor connected to the camera. Really low latency outside of the camera, short HDMI cable to a monitor. And if I plug in a longer cable, it's going to take longer for the data to get to the display. If you want to go really far, you just need a really long HDMI cable, and this one is about 50 feet long. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right, 4 50-foot HDMI cables. And regular HDMI cables, this is how long you can actually get without signal loss or problem. But you can actually go farther. These are HDMI signal extenders. They go over Ethernet. Plug in your source and your power, plug in one end of your Ethernet cable, plug in the other end of your Ethernet cable, and then plug into your monitor or your computer. I've got 2 sets. If you're transmitting HDMI over Ethernet, you can get about 150 feet on Ethernet cable before you need to go back to HDMI. I got 300 feet right here. 4 HDMI cables and 2 150 reels of Ethernet. This should get me about 500 feet of transmission. Here we have the camera going to 50 feet, going to 150 feet of Ethernet, going to another 50 feet of HDMI, going to another Ethernet, going to another 50 feet of HDMI, going to monitor, going to more HDMI, and going to a display. Theoretically, you can actually keep going on and on and on and on and on, but you do add a little bit of latency for every additional connection between the camera and the display. You can see that there's just a tiny bit of delay, but that's going through multiple connection points. Now, if you want to have less latency, you can get an HDMI active cable, which I hear they can go up to about 100 feet of distance. They are directional, but there's actually a better option if you want to go really far with HDMI and you don't want to spend a lot of money. 300-foot high-speed fiber optic HDMI cable. So distance limits on HDMI by itself about 50 feet. HDMI active cable is about 100 feet, and if you go HDMI optical cable, fiber optic, you're going to get about 300 feet before you need an adapter to extend it, either Ethernet or like a display monitor of some sort. And now as I'm looking to replace some of my equipment in the next year or two, I'm going to get this or something very similar to it. It'll save me a lot of time with extra cables on the field, and I can still have this stuff in case I need to go even farther and virtually put my cameras anywhere around the field. So if you'd like to see me get a few of these 300-foot active fiber optic HDMI cables, add them into my system and see exactly how far we can push the system without loss of quality, subscribe.